The Jewish understanding of the Spirit is very similar to the New Testament understanding of the Spirit, partly because both of them depend on the Old Testament understanding of the Spirit. One major difference, of course, is that in the New Testament, it's articulated more fully that the Spirit is a distinct person, because we understand the Trinity, and of course, Jewish people weren't thinking in those terms. The Spirit was divine, but they didn't distinguish, say, the Spirit from the Father, certainly not from the Son. But in terms of the Spirit's activity, in the Old Testament, the Spirit was often associated with prophecy and empowerment to speak for God and to act like prophets did. Sometimes with leadership. Sometimes the Spirit was associated with spiritual purification, like Ezekiel 36, verses 25 through 27. God says someday he'll cleanse his people with pure water, with the Spirit. He'll put a new spirit, a new heart within us, and give us his Spirit so that we'll walk in his ways and keep his commandments, just like he speaks of the new covenant in Jeremiah 31. In early Judaism, the wider Jewish understanding at the time the New Testament was written, you had some people who focused on this aspect of purification by the Spirit. That's very common in what we call the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was a sectarian Jewish group that wanted to be pure from the world and separated themselves from the world. And they're like New Testament thinking in some ways and unlike them in others. But the most common understanding in early Judaism was that the Spirit comes, the Spirit was associated with prophecy. And that happened sometimes in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but widely in other circles. Some of the elite believed that the Spirit no longer worked that way among people, because nobody was worthy in their generation to have the Spirit. And so prophecy no longer existed. They were cessationists in that sense. There were also some people like Josephus. He acknowledged that there were some people who could prophesy accurately, but he wouldn't use the label prophecy, or he wouldn't use the label prophet to describe them. But when you come to the New Testament, you see this flourishing of the activity of the Spirit. Acts 2:17 and 18, God says, I'll pour out my Spirit on all flesh. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. I've been having a lot of dreams. I guess I'm getting old. But in any case, and then to reinforce the point that's already there in Joel, Peter adds in another line that's not there in Joel, and they will prophesy, just to make sure you don't miss the point that it's prophetic empowerment. So we have people prophesying in the book of Acts in a more direct way. We also have the Spirit working in a way that all of God's people are spokespeople for him, because he's empowered all of us to be witnesses for him. And so we speak the word of the Lord, we speak the gospel, empowered by the Spirit, the way the prophets were in the Old Testament. The Spirit of purification is also in the New Testament. So you have where John speaks of born of water and of the Spirit. Now, Calvin took that as a certain Greek construction, and I agree with him, which is why I'm quoting him here, but the water of the Spirit, it was in deities, because later on in John's Gospel, Jesus speaks of rivers of living water, and John explains this he was speaking about the Spirit. So the Spirit of purification, and we have that elsewhere. You were washed by the Spirit, and so on. So we also have some aspects that are not as common in the wider Jewish context. the spirit of wisdom and knowledge, you do have that in the wider Jewish context. I kind of subsumed that under prophecy, but you have that in the New Testament. But the idea of this personal relationship with God, where God dwells in each of us continually, the kind of intimacy that promises us, or at least promises us access to, is way beyond anything that the New Testament's Jewish contemporaries had imagined.